All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're cracking open a story about an incredible AI that is tackling one of the biggest, most expensive problems in all of modern medicine: how we find new cures. This is all about massive data, billions of dollars, and a totally new way to think about discovering the drugs of tomorrow. So, to really get why this AI is such a game changer, you've got to understand the absolutely staggering stakes involved. For decades, creating new medicines hasn't just been science, it's been a billion-dollar gamble, or the odds are just terrible. I want you to just look at this number for a second: $500 million. That's what a single big drug company can burn through in just 1 year on something called biomarker validation. Now, you can think of biomarkers as little biological signposts in your body. They're the clues that tell scientists if a new drug is even on the right track. It's the absolute foundation of everything that comes next. But here's the absolute gut punch. A mind-boggling 90% of those $500 million efforts, they fail. That's right, 9 times out of 10, all that money, all that time, it just vanishes. It's a high-stakes game where the house has been winning big time for a very long time. So you have to ask, why is the failure rate so ridiculously high? I mean, this isn't because we don't have brilliant scientists. We absolutely do. The problem is data. It's a data problem that has grown so massive, it's just too big for the human brain to handle alone. The industry actually has a name for it: the gene selection crisis. So, for any single disease you can think of, researchers are staring at a list of thousands of possible genes that might hold the key. It's the very definition of finding a needle in a genomic haystack. The sheer number of options is just completely paralyzing. And that data overload leads directly to this problem right here: portfolio delusion. That 90% failure rate we just talked about, well, it means that almost all of the resources, we're talking money, lab time, brain power, are being wasted chasing dead ends. Only a tiny 10% sliver of effort is actually aimed at the potential winners. And this just creates a snowball of problems. First, you get decision paralysis. I mean, how could you possibly choose the right path with confidence? So you end up depending on a handful of human experts, but their opinions can be really subjective. In fact, you see a 60 to 8 app. And the final result? A huge regulatory risk, where up to 70% of drugs fail in the approval process simply because the wrong gene was picked way back at the very start. Okay, so the problem is clear. It's massive, it's expensive, but what if you could completely flip the odds? This is where the solution comes in. It's an AI-powered decision engine built specifically to slice through all that complexity and find the real winners. It's called the Gene Prioritization Module. Now, the official definition is an AI system that turns thousands of gene candidates into a focused, high-value portfolio. But let me put it another way. This isn't just some fancy software. It's an intelligent partner for researchers. It turns what was a game of pure chance into a science of smart choices. So how does it pull this off? It's a really powerful 3-step process. First, it pulls together all the evidence, not just the biology, but the clinical data, statistical data, even commercial data. Second, it tailors its analysis to the specific disease it's looking at. And third, and this is the absolute key, it prioritizes everything objectively. It strips out all that human bias that causes so much waste and failure. Okay, so that's the theory. But what actually happens when you unleash this thing in the real world? Well, the results are pretty wild. Let's look at the before and after. The difference is just night and day. The old way, you've got tons of wasted money, years of delays, and that awful 10% success rate. The new, AI-driven way, it slashes costs by up to 90%, it makes development 2 to 5 times faster, and get this, it delivers a 300 to 500% improvement in success. This isn't just a small step up, it's a complete reinvention of how we do this. Just look at this chart. It says it all. The traditional method is stuck way down here, barely hitting 10%. With the AI module, boom, it shoots up to 40%. And that's on the conservative side. You're literally going from a 1 in 10 shot at success to something that's closer to a coin flip. That changes everything. Now, when you solve a problem this fundamental, it's not just a win for science. It also opens up a huge commercial market. We're talking about a $30 billion prize. Yep, there's the number. $30 billion. That's the size of the total market for these crucial biomarker selection and validation services. When you can fix a pain point that big, the business opportunity is just as massive. And we're not just talking about one single market. This kind of tech fuels an entire ecosystem of enormous, fast-growing industries. You've got the nearly $9 billion biomarker space, the $140 billion world of precision medicine, and the booming $4 billion market for AI in drug discovery. This module is like a supercharger for all of them. Okay, we've seen the science, we've seen the business, the numbers are incredible. But let's bring it all home. What does all of this really mean for us, for the future of our health? You know, this quote from the source material just nails it. It calls this an intelligent decision engine that optimizes the entire process. What that really means is it makes sure that the best, most promising ideas are the ones that actually get the money and attention they need to become real cures. And that right there is the bottom line for every single one of us. All this complicated AI, all this market analysis, it all boils down to something really simple and incredibly powerful. Smarter science that leads to faster, more successful cures and treatments that we all rely on. We're talking about a fundamental shift, moving away from expensive guesswork and toward a science of truly intelligent decisions. And that leaves us with one final and, I think, very exciting question. With AI leading the charge now, just how fast can we find that next generation of cures? Thanks for watching.